Don't ever change for anybody. Don't ever trade your soul. Don't even listen to him. He don't know nothing.
Hey y'all, so again, I'm just pushing out content with substance. So I'm here to talk about today how I passed my Nclex on the first try. Now pause. Whether you pass first, second, third, fourth, fifth, you are still a nurse. No matter what. No job that I went to said,
did you pass on your first try? How many times it took you to pass the nursing license? Are you sure?
No job ever asked me how many times it took you to take your Nclex. No job ever asked me, sorry, I got to straighten this up. Okay. No job ever asked me how long it took you to take your Nclex. No job ever asked me how many times you took your Nclex. So I'm just letting you know, I passed on my first try. That's not to discourage anybody who is on their second, third. And if you're after your third in the state of Florida, you have to do a remedial course and then be able to take it again. But I digress. So how I passed the Nclex on the first try, how I passed. I know y'all not want to hear it. ATI, when I tell you, if you really, and I used to be an analyst. That's what my job was before I became a nurse. I was an analyst at a big bank. I was a anti-money laundering analyst, but I still was an analyst looking at data and analytics. So to say that, I said that to say this. Even though you might not like ATI, I hated ATI. During school, I used to be like, another test, another test, another test. Like, what's going on? I hated ATI. But it was well worth the investment that the school put us through, that kind of course, like making us take ATI for every class that we took, making us take ATI for every subject. Like, I mean, literally, we would be doing maternity and we would have 8 ATI tests. Some would be written and then some would be, we have 8 tests. 4 would be ATI and then 4 would be, written tests. So I know you guys might not like it, but it is very, as far as me, because it shows you what you need to know. And this is not sponsored. I wish they did sponsor me, but this is not sponsored. ATI helped me pass my Nclex. Everything that I did not know. Now, mind you, there's going to be a lot of stuff in school that you think you learn, right? Then you get to doing that predictor test and you like, we didn't cover this, or I don't remember us talking about this, or if we went over this, it wasn't long enough. Like, because I don't remember anything about this subject. Like I said, ATI is worth the investment if your school doesn't. I don't know what school doesn't invest in ATI, because I think all the school, at least the ones in my area, they all invested in ATI. You need to really look at what you got wrong when you're doing those predictor tests. Even before you get to the predictor test, start every subject you do. If you're doing AP and you realize, okay, I didn't get as good of a score as I needed to take, you need to look at what did you do wrong. It breaks it down for you. Hey, you need to review, this. Maybe you need to review that. And for me, a lot of my issues with ATI was just me not wanting to sit down and take the time and read. That was it. Because I felt like I was so stressed with already, I was a full-time worker. I was a full-time employee. Mom, full-time, times 2 kids, and one was a baby. And then I also was a girlfriend, I'm a daughter. I'm everything to everybody. So I felt overwhelmed, and I'm like, I don't have time to, once I finally get out of school at 10 o'clock, then spend an additional 2-3 hours on ATI, just, breaking down whatever we've learned in class, and then getting ready to wake up at 6 a.m. to do it all over again for my job, then going to school. So for me, it was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this shit. So I know that it's something that you don't want to do, but I'm telling y'all, when I did the predictor test, I looked through all of that data, everything that I got wrong, Sorry if y'all hear that noise. My baby just got up and he's doing stuff. Everything that I got wrong, I looked through. And when I looked through, I seen, okay, you need to work on, it was what it was stuff I needed to work on. I can't even remember, y'all. Ever since I graduated, it's like, anyways, I couldn't remember any. Sorry, that's not what I meant to say. But I could not. I go through all of the subjects that I needed to work on. And when I tell you it was some stuff, I'm like, I don't even remember this in school. And you're going to have those moments where you're like, I don't remember us going over this in school. They're not going to teach you everything. It's impossible for them to teach you everything. Because even me still today being a nurse, it's stuff I'm like, I didn't know we were supposed to do that. And it's like, I became a nurse at the worst possible time. I'm a nurse during the pandemic or the aftermath of the pandemic. So there's in such a need for nurses that they'll take you, but they don't really want to train you. And that's going to be another story time. That's where I exit stage left. But anyways, when I was in that point of getting ready to take my test, my teacher told us, my teacher told us about not waiting too long to take your test. And the longer you wait, the statistics showing that the probability of you passing on the first try, because all of it was based on the first try, was, going to go down. I was like, well, let me just go ahead and schedule this test out. The available date that worked for me was on a Saturday, and the next available date they had for a Saturday was October 31st on Halloween. The 2 weeks before I actually was going to take my test, I was doing a lot of ATI. Not necessarily the same, like not doing the predictor test again, because, eventually you start getting to the same questions. But I was going through a lot of those hard question banks. I was doing a lot of select all. I mean, the Nclex, I don't know if yours is, but mine's had a lot of select all. And I had to remember when I was taking the test, a lot of things is going to be similar. Which one shows that you're a safe nurse? Which option is the safest option as a nurse? Knowing your scope of practice, knowing as a LPN, I should not be doing things that our RN does, and knowing as a LPN what I can delegate to a CNA. So a lot of it was knowing your scope of practice, being a safe nurse, and being the safest nurse. I had other sources, and I had my friends from nursing school, but when it came down to it, it was just taking a deep breath, doing what I could. As long as I did ATI a couple of times a day, I felt confident to go ahead and go and sit down for that test. Because once we start getting into that week before, your anxiety goes through the roof. And I realized during school that if I chilled out, not worried about it, because I did everything I could already, as far as like when I was in class or when I was at home studying. I did everything I could. So when test day came, I took a deep breath and I relaxed it. Every time I did it, I passed my test. Every time, and I passed with a high score, like an A. So every time I did my test, I said, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm not going to worry about it the day before. I didn't cram. If I didn't know it, the day before is not going to help me know it anymore. And that was my strategy. I knew what kind of learner I was, and doing all of this, running around like a chicken with their head cut off, it didn't work for me. So I didn't want to do that. And I didn't like going to school stressed out, stomach hurt, head hurt, hands sweaty, nervous, all of this. I'm just cool, calm, and collected. I would go get me a favorite drink, go get me something at the vending machine, something that I like, and calm down before the test. And I walked out the test, whether I knew I passed it or felt like I passed it. I walked out that test with the same calm, cool, and collected mind that I had going into the test. Because when I stress out, I forget. I rush through things. So much stuff happens. Versus when I'm just calm, I get it through. So I knew that was going to work for me. I knew ATI, practicing what I did not know or what I didn't have a good grasp of based off the way I answered the questions. I knew that worked for me, and I could attest to my friends saying that worked for them. They didn't like ATI, But they realized when they actually focused on whatever it was they didn't do, or whatever it is they didn't do well on, when they just focused on reading and comprehending, not just reading, because you could be reading the same thing for an hour. That has happened to me before. And I'm like, am I still in the same paragraph? Because I'm not really comprehending. I'm just, my mind somewhere else. When you read and comprehend and then apply that knowledge, I'm telling you, if you don't pass, it's okay. You can go ahead and go from what you knew during the test, go back into the book, go into the computer, however your way of studying. If you like visual pictures, I did a lot of Picmonics. I did a lot of stuff to help me understand the information, because I didn't want to have a book and just eat the book. I wanted to eat what I needed to know. So if I knew, okay, I know pediatrics like the back of my hand. Why would I keep focusing on pediatrics? Focus on adults. Focus on whatever it is. If I knew I was really good with the renal system, why would I keep focusing on the renal system? I know I'm good with the renal system. I need to focus on what, if it's cardiac that I struggle with, I need to focus on cardiac. And that's what I actually was good at cardiac. But that's just an example. Like, whatever I knew already, like, it was nothing for me to get it. Why keep focusing on that? Focus on the stuff that you didn't like. If you had problems with values, focus on those. If you had problems with the skeletal system, focus on whatever you knew you struggled with, or you barely passed by, the hair, or the hair on your arm. If you barely passed by that, then you need to go and focus on that. And I think if you do those steps and really apply yourself, because who wants to pay for a test again? Who wants to go through the process of sitting down and doing all that stuff that they make you do when you go into the test? Who wants to do that again? So if you do everything you need to do before you start, I am almost you will pass. And I left the test. Once I took the test, I left that test not feeling the best, like not feeling as confident as I usually am. And I just was like, you know what? It's nothing I can do now. I went and took my kids trick-or-treating that afternoon, and we had a great night. And I found out, now that I ain't gonna lie now, an hour later, I was trying to do the little test that they tell you to do, like to see if you can schedule a test again, the little trick. I was doing it, but I was like, I said, I'm not gonna do it more than one time a day. And I found out that I had passed November 3rd, and I was happy. So that's my story. Hopefully it helps you guys. Hopefully some of the tips and tricks I gave you can help you if you are a aspiring nursing student, if you're a current nursing student, or if you are a graduate nursing student trying to take your Nclex and trying to pass. These steps will help you if you're an RN, an LPN. If you know what you need to work on, there's programs out there to help you. I did not buy UWorld, and I was UWorld before I even started school, because everybody swore by it. I did not purchase it. I didn't pay for it at all. I didn't use it at all. I used what was already available for me for free. And that worked for me. It was Google. It was Level Up RN. It was, when you get to this process and you start trying to figure out what you need to know, you'll recognize some of the YouTubers that help you guys pass, or help you pass whatever subject you're learning. But once I started using the free resources, I'm not saying that if you pay for it, it doesn't help you. I'm not saying it at all. But I'm just saying I wasn't willing to spend money if I was able to do all this other stuff for free. Let me see what else I can do for free. Now, I would have invested if I didn't pass, but it didn't work out like that. So I'm just saying, if you don't have it like that to spend money, and even if you do have it like that, try the free resources, because I'm pretty sure a school is not going to invest into a system that doesn't work. So, because they get they get some kind of incentive for their students passing on the first try. That's why they're hammering you when you take your test, and then when you take your test, they're reaching out to have you pass, have you found a job, because all of that data they go back and put it on, and then the next year they can say they got a 78 passing rate, 100% passing rate, or whatever the case may be. So I don't think your school will try to fail you. I don't think ATI is purposely trying to fail you. I think if you use all of these free, now ATI is not free, but my school paid for it, so it was free for me. If you use these resources, if you use the resources that are already given to you, the books, all of the stuff they give you so much stuff. If you use these resources to the best of your ability, then they should be all you need to pass the NCLEX. And then I forgot to tell y'all got to do like you got to do another fingerprinting, but your school should already, depending on what kind of school you go to, your school would already tell you you have to do a fingerprint and all that before you go and sit down for the boards, because they want, I guess, make sure you ain't did nothing during school, because you got to do one to get in school, you got to do fingerprint background to get in school, and you got to do one to take the test, I guess, to make sure you haven't, committed a crime between that time frame. So, oh, and also let them know everything that is on your record. That I didn't have an issue with that, but somebody I know didn't tell them everything, and that delayed their process of getting their nurse's license because they couldn't sit for the board until they appealed whatever was going on. So be as open and honest as you can, and try to do your research before you go to school, before you make this investment. Even though nursing school didn't cost me a dime out of my pocket, it costs time away from my kids, time away from my man, time away from my family. And I am one of those people, I like to be around. I like to, I like to do stuff. I like to hang out. So it does cost you something, even though it was free for me. It does cost something. It costs time. It costs tears. It costs heart. But y'all, thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for watching. As always, like, comment, and subscribe to Driofallthings.